leaders of the All Progressives Congress. Meanwhile, we will also take a look at the plight of the Nigerian worker amid various challenges facing the country, including the high cost of living. This is Standpoint. I am Theophilus Ilama. The People's Democratic Party announced its intention to challenge in court what it described as the trading away of its electoral mandate in Delta State following the recent defections of Governor Sheriff Oberewori and other top party leaders to the All Progressives Congress. This was part of the resolutions reached at a meeting of the party's National Working Committee presided over by the acting national chairman, Ilya Damagum, at the PDP National Secretariat. The party leadership insists the mass defection is a betrayal of the people's mandate and promised to initiate legal and political steps to reclaim its lost ground. The NWC also directed the South-South Zonal Caretaker Committee led by Ima Ogidi to immediately take charge of the party's affairs in Delta State. The zonal body has been instructed to relocate temporarily to Delta State, take inventory of party assets and ensure continuity of PDP operations pending the appointment of a full caretaker committee. Our convener, Integration Summit of Nigeria, Dr. Chris Sekiyo, joins me via Zoom for more on this. Thank you so much for joining me on this development, Dr. Chris Sekiyo. Looking at all that's happened actually in Delta State. Now, the Constitution doesn't actually provide for defection of governors and what action is to be taken. Why do you think is the PDP going to court or aiming to go to court when the Constitution is silent on this matter?
Right, thank you. So it's been a gale of defection here and there for reasons best known to defectors. For us in Delta State, it's a win-win because we wanted an APC governor as members of the APC, and then we have one without necessarily going to the ballot. So it's a welcome development. However, these defections will not stop in our country until the lacuna in our Constitution and the Electoral Act are amended. And if they are not amended, then we would find ourselves faced with this back and forth defection from time to time, either for the purpose of convenience or for the purpose of securing political seats in, where it is. Parties will have internal conflicts, no matter what it is. Those conflicts will be there, and whether they are there or not, you find out that people would generally align to where their interest is in any situation, whether in a political party or in a church house or in a family. And so in the case of PDP Delta State, it is deliberate that they have chose to align with the center on this occasion, considering the internal conflicts in their party as it were. So we now have an APC system in Delta State that is almost nearly 100%. I don't know what is remaining of the PDP in Delta State that will give them the impetus of the party now. Going to court is one of the many steps that a party will take. But for me, it's very clear the Constitution does not speculate what has happened now. So it's another doctrine of necessity. They will test the Constitution and then they will find a way to resolve this. However, what is provided for in the National Assembly members can be extrapolated to other members of the party because it's at the highest level where it's clearly stated that if your party has issues, you can defect. Now, does the PDP have issues nationally? It does. Does it have issues in the states? It does. There are factions here and there. So the choices for members of the party is either to fizzle out into other parties or sit put and watch their party collapse over them. In the case of Delta State, the governor and his team have chosen to join the ruling party at the center. Now, is this good for democracy? The answer is no. I love to see the National Assembly enacting laws in the Electoral Act and indeed amending the Constitution to say that when people are elected on the platform of a party, they need to sit in that party till the end of their tenure for that cycle of election. And if they chose to leave, they must then seek mandate in a new party they would have joined just before the election. So that lacuna is there. members of political party will align for the purpose of either their selfish need or to secure power or for the benefit of their group. Now, unfortunately, you and I know that our parties are not running on the basis of ideology. They're basically running on the basis of interest. So today a man is PDP, tomorrow is APC, next tomorrow is SDP. They're just here, the same people in all the same parties. So if you take a trade, it is only Lagos State and a few other states that have been consistent with their party platform, moving from AD to ACN and then eventually to this APC. Most of the other states across the federation, at one point or the other, have jumped ship for the purpose of convenience. A couple of PDP states are now APC just by defection. This is not the first. So I think that it is the Supreme Court that will define and interpret or extrapolate the existing law as it were. So there's nothing wrong for the PDP to test the law and the constitution. Unfortunately, this has happened, and it has happened because there's a lacuna in our constitution. And I believe that it's not the best for the democracy. People who just jump ship for convenience. It's not good enough, but this has happened. For us, it's a win-win. We now have the Delta State as APC that can now benefit truly from the center and provide development for the people of Delta State, working with the center in harmony. It's easier to have the center controlling and working in sync with states. So those states are running in to just find that so-called in terms of convenience, considering that their party is not stable. I hope also that this will help the PDP to know that they need to harmonize their house and prepare to provide the opposition that is required.
With what you have said, lastly, they are concerned about the fact that these defections might lead to a one-party state?
Yeah, well, we are just saying what is already existing. Even the people in PDP, are they not APC members in PDP? Look at the federal federal minister of FCT. He's a PDP member. His body language is APC. So you find PDP people who are wearing the garment of PDP, holding PDP position, already acting as APC. So it's always been like a one-party system. And the same thing again, the Electoral Act and the Constitution provides for this kind of system, where one party can afford to. The powers of the executive is so much in any state and in the federal government that once there's a winner, everybody seems to be left out and they are now struggling to be part of the system. So for a PDP control state, for instance, if you have local government election, all the seats will be won by the ruling party. For an APC control state, it's the same thing. So there's a one-party system that is not written on stone. It's already there. So if there's a fresh election done in this country, there's always every chance that the APC will win that state because the federal government is APC. So we are not yet there. The democracy is still very porous. People are just answering names of party based on conviction. Very few of us believe in the ideology of party and will stay put even when there are challenges. I was in the PDP. I left for the APC long ago because I felt that I wasn't in sync with that party again for a very long time over the way things were done internally. And that thing that I saw at that time is what's playing out now majorly in their party. So if parties are not formed based on ideology, they are formed based on party, they are formed based on convenience and benefit and wins, this is what you will see. It is not exclusive of other parties. Even the APC that we are today may have the same scenario if we had a PDP president. But there are certain elements in the party that must know that unless we do these things right and set up laws that will protect and insulate political parties and candidates while in office, this will happen. The level of defection in Delta State is unprecedented, and there are a lot of reasons for it. But the only reason that is visible in the public is that the party at the center is not stable. So the party provided the opportunity for that to happen. So right now, whether you have, we have almost 50 registered political parties, but even those who won in Labour parties sat in National Assembly and went to APC. So the conviction about ideology does not exist in today's contemporary politician. It's about power grabbing, it's about remaining in office, it's about, ruling at any cost.
So looking at the court's the situation with the PDP and the PDP saying it will embark on a legal process, is there anything for the PDP to rely on when they go to court?
Okay, so our constitution again provides for lawyers to play around the letterings, and then the judiciary have a way of making impossible possible. So I do not think that PDP will not find straws to hold on. It's a darling party right now, so it's going to look for straws to roll on. But it's also not impossible for the judicial system to begin to look at those straws and find that there are anchors that they can rely on to take certain decisions. But trust me, I think it's an exercise in futility. I'm not going, it's going to be something we talk about it. But I believe that it's crying over spilled milk. They should have stopped this from happening. It has happened and there's no going back. For us, Delta State is APC and that's where we're going.
All right, so let's talk about the place of opposition in strengthening and deepening of democracy. Now that we are seeing this gale of defections moving from one party to another, what now? Where does the power lie now? The people, or where do we put? Where's the place of opposition politics in our democracy? How do we now strengthen democracy if we have many people from one political party moving to another political party en masse?
Well, you know, that is the irony of this defection. For those of us in the APC in Delta, it's a mixed feeling, and that's the reality. So much of people with resource and energy from opposition of yesterday are now part of our party. It's like inviting an elephant to your dining table. So the outcome will be humongous, and we must be ready for the outcome of what we've done. But unless, like I said earlier, that there are laws stopping this will continue to happen in our country and it's destroying the democracy. And we cannot pretend about that. Where there are no opposition, democracy cannot thrive because there's nothing to compete over. It is that healthy competition that puts government on its toe. So if we have a one-party state, the president can decide to do whatever he likes, the governor can decide to do whatever he likes. And there will be no voice. Now, the minority voices that are in opposition in this system that we operate now are silenced by economic impoverishment, by less opportunity. And so over time, either as a result of hunger or frustration, they are perpetually silent. You cannot really do business in any state if you're not a party member of the ruling party of that state or the federation. You hardly will be successful in any business because there's some major politics in almost everything that is operated in the country. So winning parties will patronize their supporters for businesses and contracts, even though maybe the opposition is qualified. Nobody's going to acquire his opponent. So that's what we've found ourselves. And unless truly the National Assembly enacts a law that insulates and stops defection, this won't be the first. It's happened even before independence. People have defected. And it's just that between then and now, the defection pattern has changed. Back then, it was as a result of disagreement, clearly, or ideological disagreement. Today is about more majorly comfort. I will have to defect to a certain party where I can have some comfort or some space to express myself. It's not based on ideology anymore because I do not see the ideology behind what has happened in Delta. I think it's a matter of convenience where their party, PDP, appears today in Delta is not, in one piece anymore. And so they all chose to move to where they can find stability. So yes, it's a win-win when I say it's a win-win, but it's not without hurt for the people who are around because you have just invited an elephant to your dining table, and you know the consequence of an elephant in a room filled with China glasses. So there'll be some broken bottles here and there, or mugs here and there, but that's what it is.
All right. So earlier you had mentioned about the Constitution providing for such situations. Now, Section 68 provides for a member of the National Assembly to lose their seats if they defect from their political parties, given different reasons, but they'll have to lose their seat. But like we had mentioned earlier, there is no room for, or there's no provision for that in the Constitution as it relates to governors. How do we stop these kinds of defection? What kinds of laws do we have to put in place to ensure that this reduces to the barest minimum?
Yeah, I think that section of the Constitution, I think it's 68 section G, should be amended to expressly state that defection is impossible. I don't even want to think that they should allow it. If you win on the platform of any party, even if you are the only candidate, you have to run your tenure completely on that platform and then defect at the end of your tenure to join a new party where you can seek a new mandate. But so long as they don't fix that, this will continue to happen. We need to correct that anomaly in the Constitution so opposition and other minority parties can have a say. Just imagine where somebody has won an election in an unknown party, let's say NPP, one state in Kano State, right? and then somebody's won a seat in the National Assembly. He's a lone ranger, a minority of the minority. He wakes up one morning and says because the commissioner and the party are having issues, he's no longer interested. He has moved to another party. So those who want to defect can even bring conflict in their party so they can defect. Those who want to defect can bring conflict just by intentionally doing so, fund hoodlums to go and cause chaos in parties at state levels, and then they say the party is unstable and defect. So the issue of defection should not arise. If you're no longer interested in the party and you're one at the bottom of that party, there are two options that should be open to you. You resign your position, join the new party, or you finish your tenure in that party and then seek registration in a new party going forward. That's how I think that section of the Constitution should read, to protect opposition and minority parties in democracy.
So over the years now, the Delta State has been tagged a PDP state. Basically, the Niger Delta has been seen as a PDP state. Delta, Edo, Bayelsa, and all of that has been held by the PDP, especially Delta State. Now that power has changed hands into the APC, what are people saying there? What are the residents and citizens in Delta State saying?
So we are people on ground. I can tell you that it's not as sweet as it appears in the big screen, right?
Okay.
Citizens who have been PDP for so long still feel like that's their identity. And particularly for those who ordinarily were not even holding any political office, and perhaps the party is not giving them any benefit, but they just have a sense of belonging in their party. It's difficult. It wasn't easy also for the governor to convince followership to join him. But it's something that he's done. He's done it and done it so well because the mass defection up to the ward levels in the party. But I can tell you, like you said, if there were no room for this kind of thing by the constitutional lacuna, you can imagine that from Cross River through Akwa Ibom, through Rivers, through Delta and Bayelsa to Edo are PDP. They can just be a minority, regional party, win governorship, win House of Assemblies, win Senate, and stay and run the thing and be a visible minority opposition. But in the West in 1999 to 2003, you saw what happened. AD had a sweep. And then because there's this defection thing, Obasanjo saw to it that some of those governors left. Lagos stood his ground, even when it was Lagos alone. And that is the principle of democracy. Where you believe in the ideology of the party, you stay in that party, you fight disagreement within the party, you resolve it within the party, and you move on. You don't just jump away out of the boat when there's just a small crack in the boat that you've been riding for 26 years, still counting. So, but it has happened not just in Delta, it's happened in Edo, it's happened in several other states. So, the case of Delta will not be different. People just adjust. It takes a while. I'm very sure that if you even call APC in the meeting of this gathering, some of them will see the same power to the people. It's a mix of confusion right now, but they will get right with time.
With that confusion now, do you think that come 2027, the APC will be able to hold down the state as its own?
Oh, that's why I said for those of us in the APC, it's a win-win. The election is done already. The election is done. The major candidates of the APC will now understand that there's a sitting APC governor who perhaps they may willfully, give right to first refusal, or there will just be primaries, and whoever emerges. If the current governor does not emerge and is defeated in the primaries, he has no choice but to support his party to win an election. It has to be determined by the primaries that will now occur prior to 2027. In most cases, the power of incumbency and the internal party mechanism may just say, give the governor a second shot, so let him finish his tenure. And then the others will have to make that sacrifice. Politics about sacrifice, give and take. But it's not going to be without some bottlenecks here and there, because you have met some people in the party who also have ambition, who will not just wish away their ambition because you join them in the party. Now the party is one, so everybody's, there's no PDP, APC in the party, it's just an APC party from the state to the grassroots level. There's no old member, no new member, everybody's member of APC now by the constitution of the APC. So they will sit down and we'll find a way, including myself, we'll find a way to harmonize interests and get the party to win that election seamlessly in 2027. That is a given.
Okay, so with the defection of the governor, you know that when a governor wins election, he automatically becomes the leader of the political party from which he emerged. Has the machinery of the state been given to the governor of the party in that state? been handed over to the governor? Is the governor the leader of the APC in Delta State as it is?
Oh, that was clearly stated at the defection ground by the vice president himself, who represented the president, who is the leader of the party nationally, that in APC, the governor, an APC governor in the state is the leader of the party in the state. So, and the governor in his speech clearly stated that there's no more Agege side or Keamo side. There's just an APC led by the governor, and everybody needs to fall in line. And I think that's what we do in our party. It's possible that those who have been there before the governor would have some sense of leadership role to play in the college of leaders. But I think also that by constitutional provision, they will defer to the governor when it comes to leadership of the party. But that does not preclude the fact that anybody can run in the primaries against the governor. Anybody qualified to do so is still free to do so. So it does not foreclose the fact that the governor now have an automatic ticket. It doesn't. Those who are ambitious can still pursue their ambition, so long as they qualify to do so. And then if the negotiations internally don't work, of course, we'll look at the primaries and that will be resolved.
So if elections were to be held today or this year, and the governor himself is in the saddle contesting the elections, the APC will rather decide to give it to another person rather than the sitting governor who has, like you had mentioned, the machinery of the state?
So that's the technical part that we cannot just discuss like a budget or an estimate of budget. It's the reality. A party that wants to win an election probably will consider its incumbent and its performance first before it will begin to look at the other metrics. So there will be reasons for the APC in Delta now to say we do not want the sheriff anymore, and so we need to go to a primary. When leadership meets, all the merit and demerits of that will be considered, and I think he has an advantage because of the power of incumbency, and is entitled to a second term. So we may not necessarily want to debate what is clear before everybody that is likely to have a second term. But I'm only saying that it is not a given, because the constitution says people can aspire, both the national constitution and the party constitution. So, but who eventually becomes the matter of what the primary will decide, or the understanding between the internal metrics of the workings of the party. So I cannot sit here and say Sheriff is the candidate of APC right now, or Agege is the candidate of APC right now, or Chris Ekio is the candidate of APC right now for the 2027 election. That's not what we can do here. It has to be a mechanical process within the party that will look at the best interest of Deltans, our country, and the party.
All right, so what's the way forward for Delta APC right now?
It's a celebration galore. It's more of harmonization of ideas. You know, like I said, the APC originally now just invited an elephant into a dining table. You need to make room for the elephant so you don't destroy your other furniture in the house. That room is being made now. You need to also get the elephant to understand that he does not need to step his big foot on the little other animals existing in the house and all of that. So that kind of organization is ongoing at very high levels, and I'm sure that the outcome will please all the others. For us, it's supposed to be a win-win, because now there's no disparity between the federal government in terms of developmental agenda and the state government. In fact, the renewed hope agenda is now merged with the more agenda. So what they say in Delta now is renewed hope for more. So we're expecting that with what we're going to do there were a lot of effort by APC at the state level, even though we're not the ruling party, to attract federal development and projects into the state. Now it's easier and seamless because the federal projects will now streamline itself with the state projects and they'll be working in synergy. So it's supposed to bring more victory for the state, and I don't think that it's something that anybody will disagree with.
Well, Dr. Chris Okiya, we're not leaving, but just please hold on. We need to go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll have further discussions on this. Stay tuned.